pjnet.tv. It is 9 p.m. on the eastern coast of the United States, and we are ready to roll. We've got a bumper rolling. We're recording and everything. We've got a live stream headed out, and our guest is waiting in the green room, and we certainly have a chat room waiting for us. So let's start that countdown to Studio 8. Well, good evening and welcome to this Thursday night edition of pjnet.tv. And what an exciting night we have planned for you starting now. About this time of the month, I believe that would be the second Thursday of the month. Ben Cooper, who is a frequenter of the pjnet.tv chat room, joins us and always has interesting topics, usually related to agriculture, biology, or some other natural science out there. And Ben, good to see you again. And you've got so much on your mind, and I don't want to steer you in the wrong direction, but you did allude to the fact or the idea. You teased the idea of eagles being the central point of conversation tonight. So let's start there. You like eagles?
I do. I'd like to visit the eagle's nest, the official eagle's nest someday.
I hope so. You would be the third person to be in here.
Besides maybe that carpenter that might visit. But I want to take the time first off to thank you, Coach, for not only reading my book, but you've been posting some excerpts from my book. And today was no different. You took something from that chapter, and it was not pre-planned. I didn't know which chapter you're on. I know you're going day in a day, but you said yesterday that, I might have figured that out. I'm not that smart. I can't figure that out.
Ben, I don't believe you. Can I tell you why I do that? I mean, it's okay. I have shared, I'm not embarrassed to say, I struggle with doing devotions. In fact, I wouldn't be doing them now if it weren't for another brother in Christ, JD, sending me a devotional book. And so I've struggled with it all my life, Ben. So by posting an excerpt of it, that kind of puts a layer of accountability. Okay, if I don't post it, people might say, well, I guess Coach didn't do his devotional. And you would probably be right. And I think that it is a classy way to build one another up. I mean, what if we all did that? Okay, and everybody, obviously, if you are publishing a book, you've got to promote your book. And I'm not speaking out against that. But wouldn't it be better if other people said things about your book?
I'll give you an example of that. Just today in the mail, we had a guest here a couple weeks ago, first time guest, and she was very, very well received on PJNet and in Brandy Muncaster, and we decided to trade books.
Okay.
So I sent her one, and she sent me one of hers, and I was tickled to death to get it in the mail today. Posted a quick picture of it and say, hey, look what I got. And, Michelle did the same for me 2 days ago. And she posted my new book. So we are encouraging one another, whether it's in devotions or our work, which happens to be books. But I do appreciate that. There's other people that are maybe getting interested in that. But, I'm not one to say that if you don't do your devotions every day and spend at least an hour every day, that God's going to give you a terrible day. But I will say, if you start your day with devotions, it's amazing how many different things come back to that same point of how you start off, how you prayer and devotions and reading God's word. I used to do it at night before I went to bed, and I usually fell asleep. Now it's the first thing that I do in the morning, and most of the time I spend about an hour in the morning. Everything's quiet, and before I get engaged with anything else, I spend an hour reading and giving time to prayer, because I find the older I am, the more I need that to get me equipped for the day. So
Well, I had to literally prop these books up against and cover up the power switch on my computer to force me to make, if I'm going to skip it, it's got to be a volitional choice. And so far, that's worked very well. And yeah, I don't spend an hour. I spend maybe 5 minutes, but I'm finding that I'm spending more time. I mean, to read the devotion only takes 3 or 4 minutes. But I'm finding I'm spending more and more time in prayer after that. It used to be about a minute or two, and then 3, and today I just realized, gosh, I don't have to get up. I can pray and take the stress off. So it's been a big step forward in my spiritual journey, and I'm just glad that yourself and others like you have devoted your time, your talent, and your work in producing materials that help other people in their walk with the Lord, because I think that's what we're all doing here when you get right down to it. I think it's called discipleship.
it's called basically daily living out your life for Christ, being an example first to yourself and being committed to it. Pastor Andy said it last night that he had to be doing some things personally himself rather than that doesn't make very good pastor material or Christian material if we're saying one thing and doing another. And I will also say that I'm assuming JD's in the chat room, but JD told me to take all the time I wanted because he didn't plan on taking a whole lot of time. But I read his blog, and it's worth going over as well. But I do want to divert just one thing, and I want to share something. I rarely talk about politics. I have my opinion, and I usually keep it to myself unless asked for. It's kind of like salt and pepper on the table. You don't pass it unless somebody asks it. It usually just sits there. But this was an email just to let you know that there are people all over the world that share some of our concerns about last week's election. And normally I would have been here last Tuesday night, the first Tuesday of the month, but that was election night, and we figured that there was far more important things than to hear me or Dell on Tuesday. But I got this Saturday night, or sometime Saturday, from one of, some people may know her, Claire Campbell. She's from Ireland. She's a Christian writer. And she sent this, and I want to take the time to read it because I really think it shares some information about people outside of the United States. And then we'll get into Eagle. So bear with me as I read. I've been in prayer for your wonderful country since last weekend. I stayed up all night with the election. I saw the fraud occur. I can assure you there is a network of international prayer going on right now. There's many saints with all their focus on the protection of the United States of America. Not sleeping and not moving, I'm one of them, and I know plenty more. I'll say again what I've been receiving from prayer all day. A great spiritual awakening occurred in the world a few years back. Trump assisted in securing more paths of freedom for that great wave to flow straight to people. But he hasn't and isn't the only one. This isn't a conspiracy theory, to be clear. At the end of the day, it's already won. It was won 2,000 years ago. Any victory by the enemy is an illusion. Any chatter is white noise to distract from the truth. It's already won. Let the empires play out their little battles, but keep eyes fixed. Don't deviate 1 inch from the truth. It is finished. No matter the outcome, it's already won.
Thank you.
That was a powerful message from somebody that isn't even an American. And I read that before I taught my Sunday school class on Sunday morning at church. And I just felt, here's somebody from another set of eyes that maybe sees things more clearly than what we see them ourselves. But yet going back to the important part of that, it's already finished because Christ's redemption work on the cross is already done. So I just wanted to share that, and I thank Claire Campbell for sending it to me and giving me permission to say that. So now I'm going to move on to the eagle. You have your shed. It's called the eagle's nest. I'm going to ask you a couple questions. And you said you read a devotion that I had in my book, but just share some facts about eagles. And I want to start off with, do you know what the real or what the reason is behind the term bald eagle?
You're setting me up. I have always assumed it's because its head is white, and that presents the notion that maybe done hair. I don't know. Just a bald eagle. I knew it was coming. So go ahead. Tell us the real reason.
Have you heard the term piebald before?
No.
As in deer. Do you know what a piebald deer is?
No. Help me out. Make
It
it
has
multiple choice or something.
contrasting colors. It has contrasting colors, light and dark colors.
Okay.
And so the bald part, we kind of commonly think it's because it's from the neck up, it's white.
Mm-hmm.
A mature bald eagle is white. The immature is a brown color
Right. They stay
until
camouflaged.
it's mature.
Mm-hmm.
But the actual name was a piebald eagle. They dropped the pied part, and it is because lots of animals will be considered piebald. Both dark, melanistic, the contrast of light and dark colors, and it's not melanistic and albino, but that's the term piebald. So the American bald eagle would really be the American piebald eagle, but they dropped pied out of that and became bald eagle. And in 1782, the second Congressional Congress that was organized basically made that the national symbol. Some say that Ben Franklin wanted a turkey. That's not really nailed down true or not, but some people will say that that's truth, but I've seen other people where they fact check it and said he just didn't like the fact. He thought the eagle was a little too aggressive.
It's a predator, yes.
Because of its strength and and he was kind of against that. But there was 3 people that came up with some images, and they settled on the bald eagle as being the image.
Well, the eagle finds its way to several nationalistic emblems around the world. We're not alone in that.
But the bald eagle is only native to North America.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
There's some other species that look like the bald eagle. So that kind of was the clincher. Hey, this is unique to North America. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to use this mm-hmm. bald eagle as a symbol. That's one of the reasons that they used it. And its background from a biblical standpoint, that it's listed 34 times in the Bible, only 3 times in the New Testament, and 31 times in the Old Testament. And most famously is that Isaiah 40 chapter, where we see in verse 31, those that wait on the Lord will renew their strength and mount up with wings like eagles. And so that's probably the most famous reference to eagles in the Bible. But if you read my devotion and you from my book, I talk about this shedding of feathers and how it happens. We have chickens, and when a chicken molts, it loses all its feathers at one time. Yeah. They look very pathetic. They look like they've gone through coronavirus in 2020, 10 times over. They look very pathetic, but they molt all at one time. If an eagle did that, or any bird of prey did that, they wouldn't survive very long. The eagle primarily focuses on eating fish. it will eat other animals. But um, 2 weeks ago was the last bald eagle that I saw 2 miles from my house, following a stream that has a big pool in it, and they stock trout in that stream, and that eagle has been there for about a year to a year and a half, and so they are making a comeback, and I can see them where I am, and it's nice. Most of the time, when somebody sees a bald eagle, they're going to stop and kind of ooh and ah and just pay attention because it is our national symbol. I wanted to get into this process of, I'm going to use some examples here. If this is bird feathers, and when this feather sheds, this feather sheds. So it creates and keeps a balance. A bird out of balance cannot fly. It's grounded. If it's grounded for the whole molting season, it's going to starve to death. It's got to eat. So it creates problems. I have a sample here. This is not an eagle feather because I'm not allowed to have an eagle feather unless I would have followed through and got my falconer's permit and then a permit to actually have an eagle. But there's stiff penalties unless you're a Native American or a falconer. There's stiff penalties and jail time that you can do if you have possession of eagle.
Okay. Well, what we just experienced, folks, has happened before, so there's no reason to panic at this time. And Ben's back, so let me bring Ben back. And Ben, you were saying that you don't have a falconer's permit and that you can spend time in jail for simply possession of an eagle's feather.
Correct. But in showing this, whenever I did a apprenticeship with a master falconer and worked primarily with red-tailed hawks. But if you hunt with them, eagles, or if you're a falconer and you use them, a lot of times the feathers will get damaged because they're flying and they're going after prey, and it's very, very easy that a feather will break off. That now becomes an imbalanced bird. It's not going to be able to hunt. The other side of the bird would have a full feather on it, but just that little bit, if you're in an airplane and that lift, that wing that's sticking out there, something's wrong with that, you're going to be in a tailspin, or you're going to create some problems if you're counting on flight to be able to save you. But if you look at the end of this, I actually have a toothpick in the center of that feather. Feathers are hollow, and they provide insulation. But in falconry, what we do is we actually piece that together by using that little piece of toothpick, and you've now recreated a prosthetic feather add-on piece so that balance is now restored. Wow. Make sense?
Wow. Yeah, you splintered it together. That's great.
And if you read my devotion, and to share with those that maybe didn't, in falconry, that process that I just did is called imping. Imping. That's all the books tell you about. That's all my master falconer would say, well, this is what you do. So as a falconer, whether I would have a red-tailed hawk or an eagle or something else that I had permits for, I would retain those shed feathers when molting took place and save them, because if they were out hunting and got damaged, I can then imp or put a prosthetic feather in place so balance is restored. And I got to thinking about that word imping. That's a strange word, and I don't ever see where it leads to. And in Bible terminology, there's a term that that sounds familiar. Do you remember maybe what you read or what it might be?
Don't worry, folks. The word is not propitiation. Okay. Imputing.
And from a Christian standpoint, when Christ's righteousness is imputed on us, we are set back to balance as God created.
Mm-hmm.
Sin corrupted us and destroyed us and made it impossible to truly fly in balance whenever sin came into the world. But because of Christ's work on the cross and his righteousness is imputed, it makes us whole again. It makes us balanced again, just like that feather that is prosthetically put back in place. We are basically ready and restored. And uh, I just found that to be an amazing connection with something that I was learning as I was going through a falconry apprenticeship and learned about imping and imputing, basically right wing behavior, so that balance is restored. Not left wing
Yeah,
behavior.
I'm chuckling because of the commentary you made earlier in the program, but no pun intended. Okay,
Right.
um,
But go ahead.
Ben, there's a fascination with eagles among nations, and let's just use the United States. What would you attribute the fascination of the eagle? I'm going to kind of tee it up and say they are a dweller of the highest of places.
And that has scriptural connections as well. But I think one of the reasons why they used the eagle, the bald eagle, if you've ever the first bird that when I did we did some trapping a few miles away. It's in Pennsylvania, where there's top of a mountain where one of the tunnels on the Pennsylvania Turnpike is. There's actually a trap site. And my falconer, my mentor, asked me to go along. I went with him, and we trapped the very first bird that we caught. Well, we actually didn't catch it because it was too big. Was a golden eagle, and we were about 25 yards away from it, and it was massive. It was huge. We would, if we could have, we would have caught it with a bow net. But the reason why that bald eagle, it's even bigger and more majestic, but two words that that are synonymous with the American bald eagle is strength and determination. And I think in the 1700s, whenever this country was being really brand new and reorganized, that's the symbol that they wanted to see strength. That eagle has powerful jaws, or in its beak, it'll snap your finger off. It'll snap a squirrel's head right off. And those talons, whenever you would work with birds of prey, you had to use welder's gloves to have them land, because that talon, just for them to flex their talons, they could run right into your hand and cause some severe damage. So there's powerful strength in their talons, in their feet, in their beak, in their wings, and they're massive. And so I think that strength and determination is what built this country in the 1700s. I think we as a country might need some imping to do.
Let me accelerate a little bit because we're running late. There's something new on the horizon, and wanted to give you a chance to share. We've kind of seen it out there, but tell us. Created critters with that's a mouthful. What's going on?
That's my new children's book, picture book series. It releases from Amazon next Tuesday, and I've already sent out about 80 copies from the first run, and looking forward to seeing what God has to do with that. It's been an amazing project. People are saying, how did you get it out and sign a contract and get it out in 2.5 months? All I can say is that was a God, as JD would say, that's a God thing, because I wouldn't have been able to do that. But I love my publisher. We just connect. I also share the same publisher with Monty, and he's got some recent book news too. So we get to be privileged to be working with Shine a Light Press, and so that's coming out next week, and we'll see what God has to do with that.
Well, I guess in a month we'll get an update on that. Ben, I'm fascinated by all of nature because it does sing and it declares the majesty of its creator. And I'm just glad that God picked you to share that majesty. I mean, I know we got to go, but folks, when I step out and observe nature, I am perplexed that there are people who believe that there is no God. I find that irreconcilably, that is cognitive dissonance, in my opinion. Even if you don't want to believe the God Yahweh of the Bible, you've got to admit something created this. It didn't just happen. There's no way. Anyway.
Romans 1:20 will set you straight. Even if you don't believe in God, you have the witness of creation to hold you accountable.
All nature does, in fact, sing, doesn't it, Ben?
Yep.
Well, Ben, you have enlightened, enriched, and somewhat entertained us tonight. And thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for your partnership and teamwork with our PJNet family. And find your way back to the chat room and read all the comments that were made tonight. And we'll see you about this time next month.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
What a wonderful brother in Christ, Ben Cooper, right here on pjnet.tv. There is a view high atop one of the 7 cameras that orbit our studio here at the PJNet Eagles Nest broadcast facilities. Wow, what a pleasure it is. What a joy is mine to be a part of this. In just a few moments, we will have J.D. Winninger, I would say at the bottom of the hour, but we kind of hung late with Ben on his Eagles, and J.D. is always so accommodating. What a gentleman. So is Ben, by the way. He so graciously stepped aside last Tuesday night so that we could all enjoy or all be a part of the election coverage together. Folks, before I leave, I would be remiss if I didn't remind you to ask yourself 2 important questions. First is this: what is the boldest thing that you have ever done for Jesus Christ? And secondly, when was it? Rise up with the strength of eagles. Be bold, and never allow yourself to be satisfied with either end.